you here now are the hand that holds the pen.
Shalom Avner, Boker Tov, Kol Beseder.
Shalom, Boker Tov, good morning.
אני לא מדבר עברית, so that is my Hebrew. We go way back, we met a few years ago, and we have been in contact ever since, and I think that this thing that you're doing now is really interesting. I want to start first with the article from the Washington Post. After decades in the shadows, Israel Foreign Intelligence Agency, the Mossad, has been getting a lot of airtime, both on the news and in popular TV thrillers. And on the screen, streaming hits like Apple Plus's Tehran, Netflix Spy, and Hulu's False Flag have starred the Mossad as cold, ruthless, and efficient machine. Far from squirming, the once super-secret agency has welcomed the exposure, former spies says. The Mossad needs recruits. I have to add, the very popular TV show Homeland was based on Israeli TV series Hatofim, and in this article, Washington Post is quoting you, Avraham. Avner, is this kind of promotion good both for Mossad and for Israeli TV producers because these shows are popular worldwide? Can you really combine artistic creativity and serving our country at the same time?
So, of course, it's a great promotion for the Mossad, but the Mossad is not standing behind all these movies.
Mm-hmm.
All the feature movies from Hollywood made by producers and directors, some of them based on former Israeli spy that wrote some books. But I believe that the Mossad is cooperate only with the Israeli Channel 11, for example, that makes some documentary films about Mossad, and the Mossad cooperate with them. But all the others are just private movies without any connection to the Mossad. But of course, the Mossad is enjoying this, and I'm, as a consultant, I'm enjoying this cooperation with the MGM and other companies to help them to make the movies more accurate, more close to the reality.
Washington Post article says in a way that the Mossad is getting new recruits through television. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine that somebody would watch the movie, as they say, you know, when they watched Top Gun, many people wanted to go to fly fighter jets in the US Navy. Can you imagine people in Israel and worldwide, Jews worldwide, who say, okay, yes, now I've seen this is interesting, I want to this to be my career?
Well, when I was young, my dream was to be a James Bond. But in the real life, James Bond is not, is very far away from the real Mossad agents.
Yes, I know.
I mean, they are not tall, they are not so beautiful, they cannot dance like him, and they are not pilots.
Yeah.
But I believe that it helps the Mossad to promote himself, because at the end of the day, we are doing this to secure our country. We are not the bad guys, okay? And the Mossad don't do anything for revenge, by the way. Even after Munich, all the operation wasn't for revenge, it was to stop the terrorists to kill Jews. That was the idea.
I want to introduce you to the audience more accurately. You left the Mossad, so tell us, how many years did you serve? How come you have become such a popular figure? What else can a person do after so many years at the same very specific job?
So first of all, I was 4 years as a soldier and officer in the Israeli Defense Force, IDF. And,
which unit?
During my military service, I worked for Mossad.
Okay. So you were in intelligence unit in IDF, right?
Yeah, I worked with them undercover, but it was as a soldier without uniform. And so since I met them and they knew my name, and they decided to ask me if I want to join the Mossad, and it took almost a year. And 2 days after I finished my military service, I started to work for Mossad for 28 years. Until I reached I became 50 years old, and now I'm exactly 6 years retired from Mossad, and I'm consulting movies and do more things. I mean, one of the biggest projects that I made last year during the COVID-19 is to establish the biggest agency in Israel that support the film industry in Hollywood, and we have a lot of people that consult them. They can help the script writers, they can produce props for movies, and they can also lecture. And we have almost 500.
I saw that. That is absolutely thrilling for the people who don't have any connections to Israel and who don't know people who worked for Shabak or Mossad. You told me that after you left the army and after you were during your army training, they approached you. How is it exactly? Because there is a lot of fantasies about how people approach somebody to become special agent in CIA or Mossad or MI5 or MI6.
So today the Mossad got a modern website, and we have all the networks and all the way to find the people, but still the government looks for people that have a different look and they can speak different languages. And maybe this is the secret of Mossad, because if you look at my dark face, I can tell you that my parents came from Iraq, so I belong to the Iraqi Jewish family and community, and I can speak Arabic.
Oh, you do? Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yes. Now, if you think about the Japanese or the Chinese, Japanese look almost the same. So you cannot send 11 agents together for operation, and they are staying in one villa in South America, and they all look so different. The secret of the Mossad is the fact that we came to Israel from all over the world, and we look different. We have different languages, and for us, languages are like weapons.
My third question is about agents and actions of Mossad who are depicted in so many movies, and I guess you have seen most of them. So we mentioned Munich. We call it Operation Wrath of God. It's about the aftermath of the massacre in Olympics Munich 72. So there is movie Sword of Gideon, and there is Spielberg's Munich. Also we have movies about Operation Thunderbolt, like 7 Days in Entebbe, Operation Moses, the Red Sea diving resort, to the most recent hits like Operation Finale about capturing Adolf Eichmann in Argentina, where you were engaged as a special advisor. What can you tell me as somebody who works now and worked on the both sides of that aisle? You worked as an agent, now you work as a consultant. Were these movies accurate? What is your favorite movie on Mossad activities besides the ones you worked on?
Well, first of all, in my agency, we represent the writers of the book, the Red Sea Diving Center, and we represent the real Mossad agents that took part in the real operation. Like Rolla Reitman, that was the head of the manager of the village, of the diving center, Danny Limor, that was the chief of the operation. So, and we have also, if you talk about The Angel, it's one of my favorite movies, we represent the author of the book and we represent the producer of the movie. So we have all the sides in our agency. Now, so my favorite is the Angel because it was maybe until today we don't know.
No.
It was a spy that worked for the Mossad, a source, and he was very close to the president of Egypt.
Yeah, he was
And
his
until
cousin
today-
or something like that, right?
Yes, maybe brother-in-law.
A son-in-law.
Son-in-law.
Yeah.
And until today, we don't know if he was a double agent or just he worked for us for money or for other reason. But anyway, he came with the information about the war that happened in 73 and was very, very a turning point in Israel, this war, because we thought that we are very strong and the Egyptians not going to attack us, and we got all the information for the Mossad, and the Prime Minister Golda Meir decided that it's okay, they are not going to attack us, and we almost lose the fight against them. And maybe some people say that because of this war, we made the peace agreement with them after. So, but maybe the most favorite is, for me, the most favorite is Operation Finale, because I'm making the research for the last 10 years, and we met in Montenegro in one of the conferences, and I made a small exhibition and also a program about the capture of Adolf Eichmann. And why the capture of Adolf Eichmann is so important, because it started with a Mossad, a very big Mossad operation on 1960. Then it turned to the trial, one of the most famous televised trial ever, and it's related to the Holocaust. So that's why it's a huge story. And by the way, we now marked the 60 years anniversary of the capture of Eichmann and the trial, and we do special programs all over the world. Now, I was a special consultant for this movie, and I spent 3 months in Buenos Aires in Argentina, and it was not only to work with the great staff and with Ben Kingsley and Chris Weiss, the director, and MGM and all the big names. It was my way to make sure that, for the credibility of the movie, to make sure that they are doing everything as much as possible without changing the script, because it was too late to change the script. And I think that the fact that people in Arab countries and even in Iran watch this movie, and I have a poster, I will send you the poster.
They really watch this movie in Iran, really?
In Iran, yes. And
how
they're
come?
watching this because it's not about the Holocaust, it's about the Mossad. When they see the movie, they cannot escape from the Holocaust, and they cannot escape from the Nazis killing Jews. So that's why it's so important. It's a creative way to talk about Holocaust, by showing it from the spy point of view.
We met, I think, both in Montenegro while you were there, if I'm not mistaken, Miki Gilad, who was one of the prosecutors of Eichmann, right?
He was the police officer that questioned him.
Who was in concentration camp.
And he was also a witness to the hanging of Eichmann. He was one of the witnesses.
There were just few witnesses, right?
Yes.
Yes. The Red Sea Driving Resort is also, I think, a very interesting story. The movie, in my opinion, was not so good. It was much more dynamic than the movie depicts. So I think these operations, we can make like 50 movies and they would all be very different, if you agree, and they can all be very interesting.
Well, if you mentioned a few movies like Sort of Gidon and Munich, I believe that good stories, every decade we have a new movie about the same topic. But the problem is that it's the research, because actually the producers and the directors and the scriptwriters, they don't have direct connection to the Mossad. And for someone like me that grew up in the Mossad all his life, I know most of the time I can immediately find mistakes. And it's very, very hard to look at the movie and to find so many mistakes from the first few minutes. You find so many mistakes in the movie. And now, the feature movies cannot be a documentary. They are not documentary. But still, if you ask a former Mossad agent, they will always try to compare it to the real story. And I can give you a nice example. You remember that in Operation Finale, the doctor was a blonde woman.
Yeah.
But in the real life, it was a man. And yes, and
so why didn't they change that when you told them?
They changed it because they wanted to make some romantic relation between two agents. In the real operation, they didn't know anything about the plan, and they didn't know actually the Eichmann's family didn't approach any police station, or they didn't ask to find Eichmann. And it was published only when Ben-Gurion made his announcement on May 23rd, 1960, that Eichmann is in Israel. I can tell you, by the way, that he made it too early because 3 Mossad agents stayed behind in South America. They didn't come home, and they stayed in South America to bring Mengele. And I believe that he didn't know that the Mossad is trying to find also Mengele, because he refused to try to find more Nazis. He came with the idea to make only one trial. That was the idea, to make one trial, to bring one Nazi for one trial, and that's all. Because the Israeli country need to move forward. We cannot be stuck in the past.
That is the first and only death sentence imposed by Israeli courts.
Yes.
It was actually beyond Israeli constitution, because there is no death sentence in Israeli constitution, right?
Yes, but there is a special sentence for Nazis and collaborations.
Yes, so that was the only from 1948 up to this day. The only person who was executed by Israeli law was Adolf Eichmann.
True.
John le Carré. He died recently. He wrote best-selling novels based on his own experience about life of Secret Service agent. In his books, his characters are living in the theater of the real, but completely non-James Bondish life, very far from Bond glitz and glam. You mentioned something about this before, but does the life of a secret agent involves a lot of office work and a great deal of loneliness?
Okay, so I think maybe the main answer for you is that former Mossad can be a journalist, author. For example, I have in the last 5 years I have a radio show, a live radio show every week about culture. Now, a former Mossad can be a journalist and author, but a journalist and author cannot be a former Mossad. It means that when you come with all the knowledge, it's not about secrets, it's a way of life. Maybe the most famous agent in the history of the movie is James Bond.
Yeah.
But James Bond is almost opposite in everything, because he's a one-man show. And he's using his name, and he's coming for operation, and the enemy is already waiting for him, and they know that his name. And for example, he can speak different languages. Now, even if I can speak languages and I can sit in a restaurant and I can listen to people and understand what they are saying, I will not show them that I understand. I will talk only in English, for example. But I can understand Arabic, and I can understand what they are talking about. Okay, So the whole idea is to hide yourself, and not to wear a tuxedo, and not to use a red Ferrari.
But sometimes,
average, to be very
I have
average.
to ask you, sometimes you have to, for example, in this theater of the real, you have to, as in Sacha Baron Cohen's series, he had to pretend that he's a very rich guy who is well posed and everything else, in order to get the information that his character needed to get. So sometimes I guess this is also the part of this role.
Yeah, by the way, I helped them. They asked me a few questions about, and they asked me if we can, for example, show that when he stayed in South America to build his new figure.
Mm-hmm.
They asked me if it's possible that he will find and kill Nazi, and I told him, look, he didn't hold a gun in his life. So there is no reason to let him kill a Nazi in South America, okay?
Yeah.
And it was part of his cover to be a very rich, that after years coming back to Syria. And most of the people want to be close to the rich and beautiful people, yes, and to be part of the parties and the good life. That was his cover, but most of the people working what we call under the radar, you cannot see them. They are average people. They don't look like someone that just came from the gym. Okay, they are not so strong. They are not so smart, but they got all they got the ability to be an undercover secret agent. Okay, now this fact, for someone that served like Le Carré, that he served in the MI5, he know this. So that's why he was very close to the real. And he made and he became a famous author because he knew how to write. He found a way how to write it. And he was in the MI5, so he could write exactly what happened. And he also got he built his name by using his past. It's like me when I'm saying I served for 28 years. By the way, there's people that tell me, how come you can say that you work for Mossad for 28 years? It means that you've never been in Mossad, because the real Mossad cannot talk about it. So I was the only one in the history of Mossad that made exhibitions and became the chief of the museum. I was the first one that built the museum for the Mossad, and my exhibitions became very popular in different museums in Israel. So that's why, and the Prime Minister came to my exhibitions, the President of Israel came to my exhibition, so that's why I became famous. But usually Mossad agents they are not interviewing, or they are not saying that they served in Mossad.
I like President of Israel very much. I met him, and he's a really nice guy, Ruby Rivlin. I wouldn't comment on other politicians.
Yeah, he came as a speaker of the Knesset. He came to open my exhibition in the Diaspora Museum in Tel Aviv. That he was the keynote speaker in.
What we know is that former Prime Minister Tzipi Livni worked for the office. I mean, worked for the Mossad for some years, and I don't think that she ever denied it. She just never spoke about it.
Yeah, it's not. It's true. It's true.
So my last question is regarding your company Spy Legends, and I'm very much hoping to bring you to the Balkans, and so we, after COVID, have a little tour in the former Yugoslav countries. Your company Spy Legends is fresh, I said that. It has strong media presence, and you have become very well recognized very quickly. So can you tell me something and some details about Operation Avner? What is this what you do, and what are your plans, and what are you working on? I guess something phenomenal, right?
So thank you for the question. I came with the idea of to establish this company during the COVID-19. It was on May last year, and I found myself sitting at home in Herzliya, cannot travel because of the COVID, and I used to travel all over the world. Most of the time I was in the States. Now, since I have a great connections all over the world, including connection with you, it's very similar to the way that the Mossad works, because we have a lot of connections all over the world. So I know many people, universities, organizations, companies, Jewish communities, Christian communities, Arab communities, whatever. I have a lot of connection, and I have a lot of connection with the former spy, former major generals from the IDF, professors from the university. So I decided to take the whole, all the people that can be as speakers, and to establish a very special and unique agency. And the idea was to bring people from all over the world. That's why we have, for example, Susan Polga, that was one of the chief in Czech in the world.
We are all crazy about Queen's Gambit. We now all know, people know all about. I made the show about Polgar sisters, and it's very fascinating that she's on your portfolio.
Yes. And so I found out, first of all, that if I want to be unique, you need to be different and unique. First of all, I'm a former Mossad, and I'm coming with the name. I have most of the former Mossad agents that are famous. They are in my agency. I have people from all over the world. I have former spy from different places like FBI, CIA, and different countries. And I have for the most famous movies and television series, I have the people that behind the operation, behind the book, behind the movie, or behind the operation. And we also support different languages. We have people that can lecture in Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, English, whatever, almost many languages. And we can do also events that we translate the event, the speaker. We have also a shop, online shop, that we sell coins about the operation, and we sell also some gadgets for spy, and we cooperate now with a big company in the state, and we are going to sell many spy stuff.
There is a spy museum in Washington, I think.
Okay, we have a direct connection to the spy museum.
Yeah, that is very funny. I've been there. Yeah.
There's also a great one in New York that we started to work together in New York, a spy museum. So we have a great connection, and I must talk about another agency. I tried to find women to my spy agency, and I found out that there is not a lot of women that can talk about it, and they are famous and they are allowed to talk. But I met so many women, I decided to establish a different agency that the name is Women Speakers Online.
Yeah.
And the idea is to represent to empowerment women.
That's great.
Yes. So we have also a few hundreds of women that can speak about different things. You mentioned Tzipi Livni, and I can tell you that we represent her.
Oh, you do?
Even if you cannot find her picture, because we have a keynote speakers that they don't want to be part of the website, but we represent them.
We are coming to the end of the interview. Is there anything else that you would like to add to this?
I would like to show something to the camera. We have this clap from Operation Finale, and in every movie that I'm consulting, I'm taking part as a cameo.
Oh yeah, I've seen you in the cafe in Operation Finale.
you in or you're in? Let's go.
Thank you, Avi, so much. I'm sending you a big kiss from Belgrade, and I'm hoping to get a big kiss from Ercelia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And
looking forward to meet you in Belgrade.
Yeah, I hope so. Or Ercelia, I wouldn't mind.